All right. Good afternoon, traders. Good afternoon. You should see my screen, hear my voice, chat with me, chat with each other. All of those things should be firmly in your grasp. Oh, we're light. It's always light on Fridays. I always wonder. I love Friday afternoon last hour. Like I never miss Friday afternoon last hour. Good afternoon to you, Doug. Hello, Jamie. Hello, Craig. We have a small but mighty crew. It doesn't bother me. We'll go. We'll get our work done. Anyone who watches the recording will be like, man, I wish I would have been live. So we won't hold it against them. Officially welcome everyone. Options Income Launchpad Weekly Market Wrap. I'm Scott. I'll be your host. Bring your trades today. Bring your examples. Bring your questions. If you were looking at a trade and you're like, should I close it? Should I hold it? Should I scale? If I scale, how much? Should I tighten? Should I? Let's talk about that together. Those are great conversations to have as a group. So, otherwise, we'll go through our watch list and we'll go through follow up on the XSP. I'd love it. So you ended up. Did it get too high today? I mean, it's a pretty big update. How close to the upper strikes did you get on a 1 day? I'm not quite not today. How close was it? As always, go ahead and put your answer in. I'm going to keep going. Education illustrated purposes only. Nothing is intended as a recommendation to buy or sell. We're not brokers or advisors, so we don't give personalized investment advice. Any decision you make should be done so at your own risk. Yada yada yada. Okay, let's go. Let's go. Market analysis. We'll revisit the posture. Um, well, now not until so you would have to close it before market. If it was in the money at expiration, then it's going to be assigned for cash delivery, which basically means the money you owe will come from your account, right? So, but if it's out of the money, there's no concern. Or if it's not ever, um, isn't there delivery? Like if you have an in the money option, maybe I'm missing something. If you have an option that's in the money, how do you then uh, pay your dues? Cash. Well, yeah, cash settled. It's assignment. That's still assignment. It's assignment without delivery. Cash settlement as opposed to delivery. So assignment is simply the act of you're in the money, it's being assigned, but not like a delivery assignment, like it's a cash settlement. Yeah. I mean, it's sorry. I was just yeah, no, I think we were both saying the same thing. Yeah, there's nothing to deliver. That's the point, right? It's an index. It's not like you can deliver fractional shares of the index to create an equity level of compensation, right? Of course. So the fact that there's nothing to deliver, and it's not, you know, futures are funny because some people are like, oh man, you could end up with people dropping off a couple of truckloads of coffee at your house if you get on the wrong side of it. Now it's also, cash settlement these days. Um, uh, Stephen D likes it. He says best day ever, best week ever, as predicted Sunday with help from the conflict winding down. Uh, yeah, I mean it is. I agree. You can't argue with the price action. I still am. I'm still a little suspect of the volume. I agree that the market posture is going to have another week of like boom, boom, boom. It looks fantastic as far as that goes. Now, is the conflict that's where I'm like, there's some stickiness there. If we're relying on ceasefires holding until there's like an actual, like, this is ended with a resolution, I'm still skeptical a little bit. Craig says, interesting. I felt like this week was very tough to make money. It was hard in the fact that it's tough to put trades on late in a upward move that's unsustained by volume, that's motivated by questionable news. Did I phrase it right, Craig? I agree with you as far as that goes. Now, if you happen to like get a couple of trades on that you could hold on to, I mean, I'll tell you what, I got my stop tightened, but got a little smashed on Dow DOW today. Closed it for a loss. That sucked, right? That sucked. But no, Craig, I actually agree with you. Um, you're more willing to give in and wait for another day. Yeah, I don't know. What you know, what's the resolution at this point? Um, and what's the resolution that anyone believes will last involving Israel and Lebanon, as with Lebanon as proxies of Iran? Like, it's a complicated thing that I think has quite a capacity to rear again. If you think that it's like done and done, I am hopeful with you for sure. Um, but it has been interesting, right? Okay, let's keep going. Good discussion. But yeah, here it is. This is where not going to carry any position over the weekend. I love it. This is where one, two, three, four, five. You can kind of see like this was the end of the prior week. And if I extend this down and I'm like, does that look to you like it's about to break through resistance and make a run to its highest high ever in spite of everything going on? There wasn't a lot on the chart. Now, Steven's gut feeling, his trick knee from his old high school football injury, was flaring up and giving him good vibrations. That no, I'm just kidding. um, from a technical standpoint, there really wasn't a lot behind this, right? Um, Now, if you did well with it, great, pat yourself on the back. But if Craig, you're like, I don't know, man, this was kind of hard. I think you're right. You can see not even like 70% volume, just real. If I showed you that volume and I said, hey, what do you think happened over those 5 days? And I gave you five choices: A, B, C, D, and E. And I'm like, A, it dropped 5%. B, it dropped 1%. C, it went flat. B, it went up 1%. D, it went up 5%. I would imagine that most of us would choose something in the middle. Very, very right. Exactly. Right. Maybe up a little, maybe down a little, maybe flat. I don't think any of us would be like, oh, yeah, it's probably up 5% or more or down 5% or more. We wouldn't think that because that's not what we tend to see when we see volume that's as lackluster as that. If I'm Iran, I want my straight open for prosperity. Yeah, but you're thinking like an American, right? Like you're thinking like a capitalist, and they don't think like capitalists often. Um, like that's kind of the whole point, right? Of why we're there in the first place. Um, if anything, learn from what you did wrong. Um, well, let me ask you this, Stephen. 8 months ago, were you worried about their nuclear program when they told you it was obliterated? Yes. They said it was obliterated and you were still worried about it? So why aren't you worried about it now? I'm failing to see the difference between the two. So that's why I'm like, I don't have the confidence that a year from now we're like, you know what? We're oh, is that what you've heard? That we're gonna go like physically in and take it from them, or are they handing it to us? If they're handing it to us, okay, great, we're out in no time. If we think we're going in to find it and take it, put a timeline on that for me. As to when you think we will have assets in hand. Um oh, now we're trying to buy it from them. Oh, okay. Interesting. Jamie, interesting. Uh I'm gonna say consider me skeptical until uranium is in hands. How's that? And consider the conflict ongoing until that happens. So but hey, as I said, call me the eternal optimist. That reporting was wrong about us buying it. Oh, okay. Yeah, why would we buy what we feel entitled to take? Good stuff. Okay. Um, good stuff. Let's keep going. All right. Well, and again, the thing is this, it's like maybe on this day you think, all right, I'm going to put something on. I could have a stop underneath this. Maybe I can get 2 to 1 out of it, which it did. But every day past that, it's like, what are we looking for here as we watch this? Where you're like, what's pushing us to these new highs? Um, Now, if I have a consolidation, and then a bounce, then I'm like, hell yes, now I'm gonna be, and I would imagine my market posture. So let's talk about posture for just a second. Let's talk about posture. So no, listen, if you had a great week, Stephen, pat's on your back. If you said, man, I actually kind of felt like it was weird and a little bit of a struggle, I actually would lean more, not like a struggle, like I don't know what's going on, more of like a I'm having a hard time finding the right trades simply because of the dynamics at play. So don't don't feel bad at all. I agree, and I've had plenty of conversations on both sides with people. Um, is most of this rise due to tech coming back? Stephen, you're asking the right question there. And that's a question that we hope to be able to answer a little bit better. A little bit better on Sunday when we go through our sector rotation and our major market. But I'm hopeful that we see more sectors doing well, and things like that. Almost all your covered calls expired in the money, so you're going to get called out chunks of cash. Then what? Are you going to sell naked puts on those same stocks a little bit out of the money to start the process again? Are you going to buy the stock and sell another out of the money call, or move on to another stock? You always have a few different ways to play a covered call strategy. Institutions have been buying the dip for a few weeks. Well, there really wasn't a dip though, right? Like, I mean, like, do you mean that this is the dip? Because when we say buy the dip, we typically mean buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip. This is more of a consolidation, and actually the S&P didn't get it, but on the Nasdaq and the Russell, That it was a correction. It was a full 10%. So a correction is definitely more than what we would typically construe as a dip. And actually what you'll notice is there really wasn't a dip, right? Typically we see when you say a dip, you're going to actually see things like a flag pattern, right? Goes up, pulls back a little bit, pop. That's the dip. Boom, boom. And that's what's interesting about this particular 2-week stretch, right? The SPY is a perfect representation. You can see it's just kind of like, I mean, was this the dip? It gapped down. And then at the end of the day, it finished at the same place it did the day before. It's not really much of a dip per se. We have been seeing and I would say it's a lack of institutional selling. So I would say institutions seem to be done shuffling. But let's switch to the VIX, and you'll actually see 2 weeks ago we were at 30. That's a let me give context. Let's go back 5 years or even 3 years. We were at 30. Look at where 30 is relative to the last 3 years in terms of representation of fear, right? It was one of the highest levels. That's what, again, that's what makes this so interesting. Stephen, yes. You will not see what we just saw. You could go back 10, 15 years. I can't remember if I mean, I'm sure I've seen something similar. But the reason I keep saying, wow, this is odd is because it's odd. It's not common to see not just the V, but the V to like new highs without ever seeing what would be considered breakout volume. It feels fragile, to me, to some extent. But if it's just a consolidation down, it'll set up a number of bullish trades going forward. But yeah, I mean, there just hasn't been great, like typical pullback buy zones. When you think about institutions, they don't buy the way we buy. An institution is, they're acquiring 20 million shares of something that if it only trades 10 million shares a day, if they buy 1 million shares a day, they're increasing average volume by 10% just by themselves. And it would still take them a month to take that position. So it's likely going to take them 3 months to enter into a position all the way. And they just have little buying points. And so the question is are those buying points firing right now? Well, yeah, that's what we're saying. What we see from the VIX is we see an unencumbrance. What are they unencumbering themselves of? Expensive insurance policies. I'll tell you what, a number of institutions took some pretty big losses from here to here. On the same day that we were like, whoa, that news impacted. You can see it gapped down from 26 to 20. That was a huge, there was a lot of value sucked out of option contracts that people owned, that institutions owned as insurance policies. So that when they did close them, and did they close them? Yes, you can see they've closed them. How do we know? Because it keeps coming down. Why is the VIX coming down? Because option prices are coming down. Why are option prices coming down? Because there's more sellers than buyers. Are they selling to open? No, they're selling to close. That is what makes the VIX as just a fantastic representation of institutional sentiment that they just have an inability to hide. They can't do it. Now, however, you can see we're kind of down here at the bottom. Steven says the VIX didn't make it to 15. Yeah, I mean, it would be very hard pressed to drop from 31 to 15 in one fell swoop. you can see this thing is really basically just come straight down. Yes, Jamie, 100%. We talked about that actually a couple of days ago. That's a great recognition of where does the price action moving higher come if there's no, well, if the bears initiated short positions and now they're getting pinched and they're like, oh shit, I've got to cover. Well, as they buy to cover, they are buying volume. So they're putting additional upward pressure on it. So yes, I would absolutely say there was an element of a short squeeze going on here. 100%. Without a doubt. Yeah. For sure. But now what? Well, again, would I be thinking to myself, am I more bullish now than I was a week ago? Yes. Was I more bullish a week ago than week before? Yes. Let's kind of walk through a couple of things and how they're likely to shift. Okay. Let me move this back. Let's make it bigger. Let's get to the SPY. What happened? We got back into our red zone. Boop, 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 boop. Right back up in here. So this score is now going to be what it was back here, which is, I can't remember, which is 1.25. Let's see. March 1st to March 8th. March 1st. Yeah, I'm actually going to give it a half a point jump. I'm going to give it a half a point jump. No, 1.5 is these back here, Stephen, green and blue. That's a steeper threshold. At least for me. Yours maybe will be a little different. Mine has to sustainably. The fact that it popped back up into these red zone for me is good enough to get it to a 1.25. And that's going to be a half of a point jump. That's substantial. I'm going to take it to a 1.25 on my long term because of that move that it made. So that's a half a point right there, right off the bat. I'll probably give it another half of a point here, which now it's funny because it's actually still negative. We went from a -7.5 to a -2.5. I'm going to give that another half a point. Boom, just like that. We have a full point coming our way just out of the first two components. Now let's go look at the volume analysis. I now have one pocket of volume here, which basically is a wash, but actually leans to the buyers, plus one buy day. So interestingly, we haven't seen volume since the very first day of all of this. And yet we now definitely have an upward slope, Stephen. My volume score is going to stay the same though, 0.25. No, 0.25. So no change there. But still, we're already up a point. And of course, the VIX, I think the VIX is going to give us at least 1/4 point. Let me get the chart to a, it's not tradable. I already know that. Yep, you're exactly right, Stephen. Will not change. VIX 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's what's interesting is we really. I'm probably going to give it 1/4 point. Actually, not a half, only 1/4. It's only gone from here to here. It's really. It opened up here, then came down, and then finished. Yeah, because it's a new low. We took this level out. I'm going to say yes, plus 0.25. So I'm up 1.25 now. I mean, at this point, look at us. That's got me already up to almost a 1. I have to imagine at least major market or sector rotation will give us something. I have to imagine we'll get something. Maybe both. If I had to guess, I would say both. Major market goes to a quarter, sector rotation goes to a minus 0.5, and then I am at a 1.25. And that's another 1.75. Great jump. So interesting. We're going to be very in a typical cyclical market, and I'm sure you've all probably heard this saying before. They say sell in May and go away. Where does that come from? Sell in May, go away. Where does that come from? It comes from the cyclical. If you look at a 25-year pattern of a chart, you'll notice that it tends to be bullish February, March, April, and then go sideways May, June, little bump, June, July, sideways. We're not in that. We don't have cyclical correlation right now. So if you hear someone say, "Oh, well, what about sell in May and go away?" In order for that to hold, we need to have some measure of expectation that we're already moving in what would be considered a cyclical fashion. We're not. We didn't have a bullish February and March and April. We had quite the opposite. Therefore, I would say to you, if you hear somebody say that and bring that up as a detrimental aspect of the market, ignore it. I believe in cyclical patterns, but we're not on it. Why would we think that the pattern starts when it hasn't been going the whole time? So that analysis kind of gets thrown out. Major market has Russell and NASDAQ. Okay. Oh, you're going to raise from a 0 to you're going to do 3/4 of a point in one raise? That's a lot. I would maybe go a 1/2 point in one raise, but it would have to be really convincing. But good to know that it's showing enough that it is going to raise our score. So I think I was right that there will be something there. Okay. All right. Maybe it gets a 1/2. It would be I've never ever raised a 1-point score, a 1/2 point, or more than a 1/2 point. Okay, let's keep going. Good. But what are we trading? I mean, that's the thing. Alcoa got beat up on earnings, you can see, but actually would say if it holds the 50, there's a potential there. Apple, no, it's still going higher. Archer Daniels, This wasn't convincing enough. If it was a white candle that looked like this, right? So if this candle looked like this instead, I'd be like, yeah, okay. But you'll notice how close it is to finishing down at the low. So no, I'm kind of thinking to myself, this thing is still in this pattern, but still setting up for next week. I want to trade it again. It looks good overall as far as that goes. AMKR, overextended. Amazon overextended. APH. I'm looking at ASX. I thought I was doing great to get 26.50 out of it, and it's at 28.70 now. But should I have put a new trade on? Obviously not. I mean, it's hindsight bias will make you feel like you should have done something different. Don't listen. If you've ever played poker, if you're a poker player, there's a concept especially if you're playing Texas Hold'em, if you're familiar with the game. But there's a concept they call rabbit hunting. And what that is if you finish a hand before all the cards are dealt, which means like maybe there's only 2 players, I bet the other guy folds. He doesn't get to see the last 2 cards, right? But there's a concept in where they'll be like, ooh, let's see what the cards would have been. And they call that rabbit hunting. And I laugh. I love when people do it. I never care. If I if I fold, it's because there was nothing to do and I move on. I don't want to be like, well, what would have happened if I would have stayed in? But I love when people do it. If someone asks for it, I'll always do. I want them to, because then they're always like, oh, I should have stayed. Well, then they constantly second guess themselves when they do that kind of a thing, right? I actually believe that's the same thing in trading. It's a version of rabbit hunting where it's like I closed my trade at the target. It did everything I asked. And now we're like, well, should I have stayed in longer? No, it just kept going higher. I mean, it is what it is. It's like for every one trade you have that goes up, gets to your target, and then goes further, for every one of those, you're going to have 19 that barely get to the target, that don't quite get to the target, that fall short of the target, that don't even get close to the target. I'm way more worried about those and how I can control those better than the few times where things just keep going higher and I'm like, what should I have done? Nothing. You know, maybe the lesson learned is leave one contract, one chunk of shares in a situation where you can do like a trail stop or, give it a little bit more room to, okay, great. But, I've seen people just break their good systems because something like this, where they're like, oh, I should have made more. Right. And this is like, relax. We're looking for repeatability and consistency over time, over years, decades. Not like, oh, did I mean, look at the move we have and then look back. And I want you to notice that this move right now is bigger than any other bullish move. And every other bullish move had some component of volume with it, except one, right? Look at this big move here, had some chunks of volume in there. This big move here, chunks of volume in there. Even this one, chunks of volume in there. The only one that didn't looked like this. That was it. There to there. And then all of a sudden we got this. And that's across the board. You're going to see that same pattern. So if you're looking at that thinking, I should alter my trading to take advantage of this, you're not going to see that again probably for a long time. So don't do that. Make sure that you're trading in a way that does the best with these, and then figure it out from there. I hope that makes sense. It's easy to have hindsight bias and anchor yourselves to, these types of things. So, be careful with that. AXP. Steven says sector rotation has tech and comms strong surge, but material staples utilities still outpacing. Okay, so I mean, a strong surge could at least take it from a minus 0.75 to a minus 0.5. Still bearish, but less so. So I mean, it sounds like we might get a half a point on major market, at least a quarter, maybe a half, and a quarter point. So I think we could be at a 1.5, a 1.5 at the end of this thing. That's a big 2-week jump. Now, here's the deal. Is there still concern about it? For me, yes, but and a 1.5, I believe, reflects that. That's a neutral score overall that's starting to orient itself more towards the bullish end. Okay. Oh, Bakebe. Baba, I want you to notice how much we got to have a consolidation here. Jumping in now is, it's like you're walking up to the party. Not only is there a cop car out front, but the cops are literally on the porch talking. That's not a party you're going to walk into. You're way too late. You're not even going to bother walking up to the door. You see the cops, you keep walking. At least that was my policy back when I was in college. We're too late. Party's over. BCS. I mean, it's no God. It's everywhere. Every chart. Oh, look at that Caterpillar. I want to go see Caterpillar's options because the last time I saw a little bit. We're close to earnings. Oh, that's kind of interesting here. Let's go see their options. Have they gotten tighter? I'm going to go to May. It's 28 days, the May 15th. Are they looking better? God, they're expensive. That's for sure. It is an $800 stock. Let me go a little out of the money and see how it looks. Where are we? 790, maybe like 820. Oh God, you have to go a ways. Yeah, actually, a little better. A little better. I still probably would be hesitant to trade these. I don't love them. I don't love them. Too far out of the money or too far out in time? You think May is too far out? 28 days? Delta. On expensive stocks, you could build a spread for sure. But again, if the options are questionable, if you ever find yourself in a situation where the uh where the spreads, and is that what you mean when the spreads are greater than $1? The delta is a more of a how does that option behave relative to the underlying stock. So for me, delta is never a measure of quality. There's never a situation where I would look at something, be told it's delta, and then be like, oh, never mind then, right? Like that's the delta is simply like, hey, if the stock goes up $1, how much does that option go up? Oh, that's the delta. Um, the spreads where it's like, what's the difference between the bid ask? That's important. That's the market maker's juice. Right? That's what they're charging us. The more they charge us, the more we have to overcome. I don't want that to be too much. Now, if you ever find a situation where you're like, oh, this is too much spread, it's never a viable path to then think to yourself that maybe you would do a spread trade. If it's bad to buy an option, it's worse to spread trade it because now you're doing two of them. Now you have to deal with the spread on both sides. And is there a measure of favorability towards spreads that the market makers think, hey, I'm willing to cut it down a little bit more, even more probable of getting it cut down for a spread than a standard option? The answer is yes, when you're getting in. If you find that then that trade needs to be closed because it's going against you and it's time to get out, that's when things get ugly. Imagine, this is what I want you to imagine. If you were to do a spread, that market maker's like, yeah, come on in. Let's do business. I'll come down a little on the spread for you to do this combination option trade. Come on in. And you walk in and all of a sudden you hear the door shut and then it locks and you're like, what have I done? Yeah, you're locked in at that point. You're stuck. Anyways, good stuff. Yeah, I just don't think it would be a good one. Let's keep going. CF gap down. A lot of those did. You'll see in a minute here, our Dow trade got smashed today. Coherence still up. I was watching Cisco, and you can see it did do this pop out. So that was viable. We'll see if it keeps going. Delta. Boo. Boo. Financials have been fantastic. We've been talking about if you remember, we said, hey, look at the leaders: Goldman, Citi, Morgan. We sniffed it out. We're like, there's something coming here. Um, for sure. GE consolidating earnings in a couple of days. Gold flat. GM up a titch. Google almost back to old highs. Goldman looks pretty solid still. Home Depot. Yeah, I think a dip is what we're looking for here, right? I think a pullback is what we're all looking for. IBM's moved. Intel earnings coming up. Very similar patterns across the board as you look through all of this. MasterCard. Meta, strong. I just need this. Here, I thought maybe it would do this. It didn't. So here, I think it'll do this. If it keeps going, there's not much I can do. I need it to pull back in order to give me something to actually step onto for a trade. Yeah. Monster looks okay. Morgan starting to kind of go into this type of a consolidation here. Microsoft, Doug, still riding a piece. What are you going to do now with the weekend? You've got a bit of a potential evening star doji up here. Close some, hold some, close position. No, you're done. Lock it in. Lock it up. Call it a day. Call it a game. Love it. Micron. I mean, honestly, I love the way this looks. Nice little V. I need a cup and handle. Then that gives me the thought that when it breaks, it goes. That's it. Just a pullback. I've got to be patient for it. This is what I would always tell people. Look, the market's waiting for somebody in our group to be like, oh, I'm missing it. A FOMO trade. I saw someone put it in there recently, a FOMO. I've got to jump in. You jump in and it pulls back immediately. Who wants to sacrifice themselves for the sake of the cause? Just go out and buy a bunch of things. Market will pull back. And as it pulls back, the rest of us get our setup. It's not going to be me. I'm not going to be impatient. I'm going to wait for my pitch. Some people are like, I think I could have hit a home run with that curveball. I don't like curveballs. I like them right down the middle. Right? Right down the middle, low and inside. That's my pitch. I'm going to be patient. I'm going to let it come. I'm not going to chase. Netflix did not like the earnings announcement. Did they lose money or just lower guidance? I always wonder with them. Oftentimes they make money than lower guidance. Oh, yeah, they crushed it. They were expecting 81. They got 123, literally 50% more. And why does it sell? Because they're like, but we see subscriptions declining in Europe or blah, blah, whatever it is. I didn't see the report. NVIDIA overextended. New York Times trying to stabilize. Palantir. I kind of still feel like I might make a run at a put trade on this thing one more time. It's recovered a little bit, but it's under the moving average grouping. Even if I got a retest of like 128, I can get 18 points, put 6 on the line for it. I'm still neutral in my posture, and I still think there could be something to the downside. I don't know. So weigh in. What do you guys think? Would you still take a put based on what we've seen in the last 2 weeks? Who would, who wouldn't? Who's not sure? Q's overextended. Rocket Lab overextended, not over the weekend. No. 100%, Jamie. I agree. That was not. I hope it didn't come across like I'm like I want to do that now. I think maybe it stabilizes and then it turns, right? Like that's kind of the I need the turn. I need this thing to kind of roll over a little bit over here on the in your stochastics. Then I could think about a stop loss up here at 150. I'm in by 145, 5 points of stop, and then thinking to myself, if this thing gets down back to this 125 level, I've got 3 to 1. That's what I'm thinking to myself is Monday, Tuesday, maybe if things start, because then if we have that, maybe that's the start of the pullback. I'm not buying puts on all these things that are making new highs. That's strength. I don't want a short strength, a short weakness like this. So yeah, good call. Definitely not over the weekend. Definitely not looking to put that on now, but looking at it as, hey, I would love next week to take one of each. A put, a call. Maybe I capitalize on the put when things pull back. The call survives, turns around, and then I put a couple more on. Yeah. What time is it? Oh, we're great. Almost done. Anybody have any great plans for the weekend? My daughter's coming home for the weekend. She's actually only like a week and a half until school's out for the summer. But it's always good when she comes home, even when I haven't seen her just for a few weeks. Rocket Lab, we did that. It's up. Ross Stores. RTX. Interestingly, as the war winds down, RTX looks like it could be setting up. Don't correlate it to the war. Clearly, the war started here, and this is what happened. So, not a direct correlation. Silver. They have to replace. There you go, Renee. That's a good way to look at it. Orders are coming in. Orders are coming in. So could be a good time. Good point. These guys look like they're maybe on the cusp of one more run before boatloads of orders. Yeah. Oh, I love it. The digital storage, man, these things are just like these unstoppable freight trains. And every time I'm like, I don't know if it's going to keep going, it like makes another run. And you're like, okay, fair enough. STX, that one hasn't really consolidated though. And am I missing one? There's one more. WDC. It hasn't really consolidated yet. Okay. Let's see here. SYY? No. TJX? Maybe. Yeah, okay. It's garbage day in my neighborhood. I've got a 90-pound baby dog shivering that the garbage is outside making noise. Hiding under my desk. So funny. Tesla. Oh, Tesla. Dems blocked the bill to replenish ammo for should we have a bill to replenish ammo for Israel? I'm kind of like let's replenish America. Let's not worry about Israel yet. That's my take. I gotta tell you, and I think there's a lot of people feeling this. I think there's way too much Israel in American politics, and I don't like it at all. What's good about Tesla? Not necessarily good, Renee, but what for me is if they are willing to pay. But Stephen, that's not America's money. That's American companies, right? It's not like America makes missiles and sells missiles. It's American companies, but those American companies should 100% be prioritizing orders to America, period. Right? When America's done restocking, then and only then do we look to replenish anybody else. As anything, there is a manufacturing capacity, and that capacity should be going to one place. So Renee, this is a break of the consolidation, and you'll notice it broke with volume. Now we have earnings here. This is another one that I was like thinking negatively, even still up until this point about 3 days ago. Like at this point, I'm like, this thing could still roll over and stay in this current trend. But once it breaks out, then my thought is on the pullback, it's ready to go the other way. And I'm starting to look for the other way. So I'm not a huge fan. I don't really trade Tesla very much. It's like a pet peeve stock where I've never done well and I just don't trade it, which probably means I see it pretty well, right? Because I'm objective to it. And so, but the only thing is that it could pull back, and then right when it gets to earnings, it just sort of blows up whatever we're setting up. So I just think it's always interesting when I see one of these that always perks my attention. Where were we? Vail Robotics pushing it. Okay. Vail overextended. Viking Cruises still going. VOD setting up. I don't love the options, but I think the stock looks pretty good for next week. WDC overextended. Walmart. Walmart would be the only argument for a trade today. That would be the only argument for a trade today. And I might actually look at this one on Monday, depending on how things open, where I don't want to carry through the weekend, but I might set up a little window right through here around the halfway mark towards still better than today at close, where if I can pick it up inside of that range, I might do it. Okay, Jamie. Well, then, yeah, you know what? Hold through the weekend, and maybe we all re-enter on Monday. Fair enough, right? I mean, it looks to me like it could still be a reasonable entry. Where it's like, think about it like back here. This is the second day, and then all of a sudden it gives just this little pullback where you're like, hey, I actually could do something with that. Deal. Fair enough. Fair enough. We're looking for it on Monday. That's my watch list. We've got a few minutes left. Anything I didn't touch on? Anything you wanted to talk about that we didn't talk about? Or is everybody feeling like, hey, I'm feeling as good as I can for Friday based on, I mean, again, look, our posture is going to improve significantly. Steven's right. Great week. Another big jump. It's going to carry us back into the positive. I hope that's the end. I'm going to go back and I'm going to look through. I'm going to find a couple of times where we sort of like recovered, but then had a regression and then recovered. So you can see what that looks like in the posture score and the correlative market conditions, so that you're like, oh, okay, I can see like it may do something like this, just so you can have some additional context. STM doing well. Look at CAR. Is that Carrier air conditioners? I believe so. Oh no, Avis. What's Carrier then? Apparently I have no idea what I'm talking about. Oh wow, look at that. Avis Budget Group. Yeah, what would drive this? Feels like a meme stock, doesn't it? What's the news here? Waiting for the crash. Puts coming soon. Now, Doug, I want you to look down at the bottom panel. Those puts are way expensively priced based on implied volatility. You might consider like a bear call spread where you're just like, hey, I'm gonna do a 500 by 510, and as long as it stays below that, and yeah, the short squeeze. Oh, is that what it is? Yeah, starting right around there, maybe. You can kind of see, and then it just sort of kicked into gear, and then people are just getting smashed. Quite an interesting one. All right. Good conversations. Good chat today, guys. I feel good. Still at 50% to cover. STM. An intense, massive short squeeze. Now 30%. Still pretty high at 30. Still pretty high at 30. That's a lot of days to cover still. So that thing could keep going. Very interesting. Short squeeze. Love it. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Doug. Thank you, everybody. It's great to see everyone. That was a strong discussion today. I really like the points people were bringing up. I mean, I brag that this is like one of the, if not the smartest trading group in existence. You know, someone challenged me on that. I'm just saying. Have a great weekend, everybody. Be safe. I'll see you Sunday morning, 11 a.m. for a little round of posture. Oh well, Jamie, thank you, man. I'm glad you enjoy it. I have a blast. I really do. I love it. I have a lot of fun. It's a great group. Makes it easy. You guys have a great weekend. We'll see you soon. As always, happy trading.